not even stopping for lunch. I'm eating brownies in the car. Wow, that's good. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to Doug's Cars. Once again, I'm in my Range Rover, my rescued Range Rover, down here in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, and I'm about to head home to Virginia. And I'm actually a little concerned. I'm not sure if this is going to work. This car is obviously was towed out of a field and has had some work done to it, but is not super happy at running right now. And I've got about 180 miles to drive today. I drove down here okay, except for a coolant hose that broke. I overnighted a coolant line here. I drove around a little bit yesterday, got up to temperature, but it was not super happy and making some funny noises from the drive line. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna obviously record this, and I'm gonna also, try to limp it home as best I can, not speeding, anything like that. So I always take a more rural route home anyway, and the speed limit's 55 on most of that, which is good. So I'm going to set off here in a second. I did get a few things done to the car while I was here for a couple days. I got the leather kind of cleaned and dressed, and this looks a lot nicer and smelling a little bit better. I got the hood latch adjusted. I believe it has not popped up again, although I haven't been driving it a whole lot. I got the headlight installed properly that I installed kind of at dusk last week. So that's now installed properly, and I'm going to fire up here in a second and see what happens. So first off, let's go back to Past Doug, because Past Doug has an important message he wants to tell you about how broken this car actually is. Past Doug? Well, as Future Doug said, this car is totally broken. Here is the upper radiator hose. Here is a fitting that actually goes in there that holds in place the coolant temp sensor for the front electric fans. And I've removed that finally, because I had to put that in the new hose. But yeah, totally broken. There's no way that this was holding any coolant in, and this just popped right out when I took it apart. So totally broken. Back to Future Doug. Well, thank you, Past Doug, for that report. Well, let's fire up, see what happens. Okay, well that's a good start for a start. Reverse works so far. And drive works. All right, well, I'm setting off. I will be giving updates as best I can for the trip. So stay tuned. Let's see if we can make this home. We made it down here, and now the cooling system's good. So fingers crossed. Say a prayer, do whatever you need to do, because I'd like to get home today in this car. All right, y'all, well, I made it to the big bridge, the Wright Memorial Bridge that goes over to the mainland, or more of the mainland, or peninsula, I guess. So that's a good sign. Cruising along right about 58 miles an hour here, and enjoying the last of the beach scenery that I'm going to see on this trip in this car, and hoping to come back down here in this car many more times. I want to take it down here, tow things, I can take it on the beach, that kind of stuff. I can't do in my other cars. So that's why I wanted this. It was a successful drive down, other than the coolant hose, but that probably needed to be replaced anyway. And I hope it's a successful drive back. I've made it about 7 or 8 miles, so let's see if I can make it the other 170 that need to go. I sure hope so. Although I guess it would make for a good video if I don't, but maybe this isn't as broken as I thought, or maybe I just jinxed myself. We'll have to wait and see. I won't know until you know. Well, hey, I'm just cruising along here nice in Currituck County, and I just wanted to point out that I'm back to where I was before the hose blew on the drive down. I'm loving this drive. It's just such a nice, smooth vehicle. Goes along fine at 55 miles an hour. It's super happy right there. And so far, I've just been enjoying this drive. It's like 72 degrees out. I got the windows down, because I have to. And it's just so pleasant and nice and sunny. And I'm passing people who are going really slow, and I'm able to do that. And things seem to be going well so far. So I just wanted to say, if you watched my video from the other day when I drove down here, and I'll link to it, you'll note that I talked about how much I really was falling in love with driving this car. And then I had the incident with the hose, and the rest of the trip I was kind of on tenterhooks, like, it's just gonna catastrophically fail and dump all the coolant out, and the temp gauge immediately go in the red, and then I'm stuck, you know. So I know that hose is good. I installed it myself. It's brand new, and I checked it before I started this trip, obviously. So I'm hoping it won't move on to the next weakest point in the system, because the overflow tank failed first. That was replaced by Sports Car Workshops. Then, of course, the hose failed on the trip down here. So there'll be another failure at some point. I didn't get the whole hose kit, but so far, so good. I've come about 25 miles or so. Next stop is the state line. I'll check in again then. Pulled over to 204,000. I didn't get the camera in time, but what an update. 204,000 miles. It's just so much fun watching this odometer roll over in a car that was sitting in a field for more than a decade. Well, as I said, I'd check in at the Virginia state line, and here we are. It's the world's smallest Welcome to Virginia sign, but I'm now back, and let's see. I believe I am almost, this is a small celebration. I have AAA, and I have the 100-mile tow package, and I believe, let's see, I'm 120 miles from home. So I've still got 20 miles to go before my, like, included towing kicks in, so I'm hoping we make it all the way, but if we can make it that 20 more miles before something catastrophic happens, then that's somewhat acceptable, because then I don't have to come out of pocket for the tow. So we'll see. I'd like to make it all the way. Things have been going, again, knock on wood, fine. I'm just gonna send it and not stop at the Wawa. I've got plenty of gas, like 3/4 of a tank, and I just don't want to risk it. Like, it's just driving along so nicely that I think if I stop and turn it off, turn it back on again, who knows what could happen. So I'm not even gonna take the bypass to the toll booth. I'm gonna pay the $3 toll and just keep on trucking. Although now I'm stopping at a light, but yeah. Well, that didn't work out quite the way I'm stopped. Yeah. Well, sit rep. The hood finally came free. I knew it was gonna happen at some point, but it's now bouncing around again. I thought I had gotten it a little better. Well, I did get it better because it stayed that way until now, and I've been driving quite a while. So, got to play with that a little bit more. Going over a bridge that lifts up, and that's always fun because you never know how it's going to react to new tires. Yeah, that was fine. It didn't really squirm or anything, which is good, other than now the hood's bouncing around, which not so good. Maybe I'll try and whack that down when I get onto 460. There's a Tractor Supply right there that has a parking lot that I've stopped in before, right off the exit. So, oh well, everything's been going great till now, and that's minor. I know it's going to stay latched, or it has in the past. So I'll keep driving. I'm finally within 100 miles. So if I need a tow, I'm good to go. Let's just hope I don't have to use that. Well, I'm on 460 here in Suffolk, Virginia, and I got the hood latched again. Let's see how long that lasts. I jiggle it a little bit, and sometimes that would unlatch it, I noticed, when I was messing around at the house. And so we'll see, but sometimes I guess the cable that you pull, which is incredibly hard to pull, by the way, doesn't go all the way back in, so the pin isn't quite properly held in place. So I pushed it in a little bit. I felt it go in a little bit under the dash here. So let's hope that holds a little bit better. Obviously there was no leaking under the hood when I looked. Everything looked fine. So job's a good one on that one. And I've got 81 miles to go to my doorstep. So I'm cautiously optimistic, I believe is the term. So I'm just gonna keep on trucking. Well, I'm about to the town here where I had to buy some Prestone knockoff coolant and put it in on the way down. And I'm so glad that hose is holding, because I've got a whole jug in the back unopened, and I'm hoping not to need that anytime soon. I was just thinking, one of the things that seems to jar the hood loose are bumps. And this is a 4-lane road, and the right lane is the bumpy lane, but I'm too slow to be in the left lane. So I have to drive in the bumpy lane, which causes the hood to pop open, which is unsafe. Or I could drive slowly in the fast lane, which is also right next to oncoming traffic, which I don't really care to do either in this car. That just seems like a terrible decision, but I'm sticking with the right lane. I can always pull over and pop this down again if I need to. It's a lot easier than driving in the fast lane, which is not fun. Not when you've got an 18-wheeler barreling down on you and you've got oncoming traffic 6 inches away. So right lane it is, bumps and hood pops, although it didn't get that time. I'm hoping it'll stay down for a while. I'm definitely gonna check it before I get on I-95 for those 20 miles because you gotta go like 65 on that road and I don't wanna do that with the hood going like this. Well, I just made my last stop here in Disputanta, Virginia on 460 to just check things over a little bit, mess with the hood before I get on I-95. It's only about 20 miles of I-95, but I mean, it's one of the busiest highways in the entire country. I'm not about to risk having the hood do this the whole way. It very well could, but it hasn't. Since I slammed it down earlier, it's stayed shut. So again, I'm very pleasantly surprised at the way things have gone today. Really, the way that this vehicle drove yesterday after I changed the hose, I was not sure that I was going to make it home. Hence this car is absolutely broken, which it really isn't right now. So I'm very glad for that because I don't want to spend a ton of money on it, but I want it to be reliable enough that I can do things like this. This is not a daily driver. Never will be for me, but I'd like to be able to drive to the Outer Banks or drive to the mountains or something like that and be able to do that with some peace of mind. And having all new suspension certainly has helped, and all new tires. But the other things are still 204,000 miles. So just gonna send it. I should be home in about 40 minutes or so, and I'm hoping without incident. Finally doing it, merging on to I-95. When I started out this morning, I wasn't sure I was gonna be here and driving and not be on the back of a flatbed. But here I am, getting on what amounts to basically the home stretch. And I'm just so glad that that hose was able to be sent overnight. I was able to get it installed. I was able to get the old sensor out of the old hose because they didn't have one to send me, and it needed to be in there obviously because otherwise there would have been a big hole in there, and I imagine the car would run without the sensor, but it's for the electric fans, and it's kind of good to have your electric fans working, although it's only like 75 degrees out, which is good. I don't really need to have the electric fans on, especially at highway speeds, because it just cools the car off anyway. So here we go. It's about 60 miles an hour on I-95. Quick sit rep, I'm back on 95 still. The coolant light just started flashing. It's flashed just a few times when I was going up a hill, and it's gone off. The temperature gauge is still rock solid, just west of minimum, or medium, so like just where it always is. So I don't know if that was just a fluke, because maybe when I filled it up to max, it actually needed more to go in the system, but it looked fine earlier. So I'm guessing because of the hill, the sensor measuring the level moved. Went up another hill, and it's not blinking, but I'm definitely gonna check that out when I get home. So honestly, other than the hood that popped up the one time, that's the only other thing that's happened in this entire trip, and I'm like 10 miles from home. So I'm really proud of this 94 County LWB for pulling this off. This, what a feat that this is. I mean, I'm actually right on 95, kind of parallel to Jeff Davis Highway from the storage unit where we got these, which is amazing that it's done this, and it's almost home. 18 minutes left, it says on my phone. So what a journey. What a journey. Well, this is it. Final exit. Only a couple blocks from home now. Just coming up this last hill. The coolant light blinked 4 times again. Temperature gauge is still fine, so I'm definitely gonna pop the hood when I get back in the driveway and see what's going on, because something weird. Maybe it used some coolant in the long trip, I don't know. I've certainly had BMWs that used coolant that were in perfect condition, so a vehicle of this age with all of its issues could easily use some coolant, I'm sure, especially after dumping a lot of it out the other day. So I've got a full unopened bottle in the trunk, and it's already got a lot of mix and water in there as it is, so maybe it just needs a little bit more. So almost home. I can walk. I can't push this yet. It's a little too far to push this home, but I can walk home from where I am on a sidewalk, and it wouldn't be a problem. So next stop, open hood. Okay, as promised, just look under the hood and you can see there's definitely no leaks coming from my new hose. There's really nothing bad going on under here. The coolant level is now low. Okay, so I need to add a little bit more. It must be from Max. There's really no lines on this. It is an aftermarket Proline bottle, but there's definitely nothing leaking that was already there. There's nothing under the car. So I say that's a pretty good result. So I'm just glad I made it back here. I honestly thought this was too broken to get back here under its own power today, and I'm just so happy that it did. I'm so proud of what it has done just these last 3 days. I mean, it had never driven more than a few miles, and that was just last week, in more than 10 years. So I just want to say thanks for putting up with the audio issues. I'm sure there's some lovely wind buffeting because I had the windows down, but this was a great drive back. I'm really enjoying this vehicle. I'll definitely be using this one for quite some time to come. Thanks y'all for watching. Keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. Keep hitting that magic subscribe button. I am not too far away from my goal for the end of the summer. I'd really love to make that, and the summer is winding down really fast. Once again, y'all, thanks for watching.